Okay. Hey, Mojo. Okay, so we have some success and some failure. We have site up and running. There's no errors. Everything looks correct. The gateway configuration looks correct. The config map, this is what I needed to do. So host name is the same. So it'll capture all the hosts, and then the path is meant to direct it, right? So it's meant to match on the path. The problem is that isn't working. So I get here, this works fine every time. If I bring up DevTools, I get a 404, and I get a 404 from Nginx. But I'm not sure what piece in this process is Nginx. Look, go lie down. Come on. So, yeah. Now, if it didn't match, so if we do that, let's try that. Pulumi up /y. Hey, Delta. One line. Good morning. Fright Night Trans, show me the DB design. Hello. Anything particular you want to see? So let's go get that. So let's verify that still works. So the gateway's up and running. Friday Night's been a follower since July, but yeah. Which database would you like to see? I'm happy to share. I just don't want to derail what I'm doing. I don't know why I'm worrying too much about that because it's not getting any different behavior. So what I'm trying to discover now is how do I identify the logging? How do I find where it's failed? So before I saw there was an actual error in here, I was able to realize that it wasn't resolving the service, which was correct, right? It wasn't the service name was incorrect because I was not giving it the full name. So this is basically okay. If it gets to here, with an empty path, then it's going to go to here. However, if it goes API, then the rest. No, go lay down. You're not coming sitting on my lap. No, no, because then you start hitting things. No. So in theory, this works. Yeah. So they don't have that. They don't have that. They have that. And I'm not sure what no TLS verify does. Let's find out what no TLS verify does. I think my CAD project is almost ready for the mediator pan. It'd be good to run the code base pay again sometime and migrate things over to the command clear pan. Yeah, nice. Yeah, we can have a look sometime. Cloudflare tunnel without having to. I've got a simple domain set up on an Ubuntu server. It's complaining that the Let's Encrypt certificate you have on your machine is for star my domain. The Cloudflare daemon is trying to use it to verify the original local host. The easy thing to do is add an origin request section. Oh, I think that's meant to be that. Low key down, bud. Down. That's origin request. Good boy. Good boy. I have to finish on time today. Have to. By the way. So I am hoping that I do not make success at like 8:30, because then it's going to get very difficult to pull myself away. But I have a meeting very early in the day, so for which I need to pay attention. Okay, so that should still be up. There we go. That's still up. Test customer test at test.com. No. It's a very weird day. Okay. Liquid Sky Software, 4810 Main Street Boulevard, Hoboken. Okay. So I don't know which piece this is. So that was where I was starting. Okay. So if I look at the tunnel deployment, right, I don't see any. I obviously see these timeouts and stuff, but I don't see anything that says can't route to something. And these are all there anyway, right? The tunnel's up and running because the website's working every single time. And the gateway, right? So the gateway less does that's what I'm trying to determine. What piece produces it? Is it getting to the API gateway deployment and hitting there? So the API gateway deployment, everything looks fine. I've got the routes. It's loaded the cluster properly. Everything should be good enough that if it got a request, it would fail here. So I would expect to see a failure. It has loaded on HTTP 8080. My configuration says, This is that gateway address. The gateway, obviously, that would be port 80 by default, but the actual gateway is set up so that it's port 80 targets port 8080, which is the actual port that the thing's running on. So that's there. That's an Nginx to something 404. It's not the .NET one, right? Yes. However, that assumes that the .NET deploy image does not host the website inside of an Nginx process. That would be my next protocol to figure out what image it actually puts it in. Docker Hub. So the gateway is XAMD. How do I find this out? Image layers. It's now logging in those requests either right now, so you cannot see where the error is. So there's no. I've been looking through Cloudflare. I can't find any Cloudflare logs at all on the request to tell me if it's even sending that request down. So whether it's the tunnel throwing the error or the gateway throwing the error, I don't know. I don't know what image this is based off of. So if Microsoft bundles a website inside of an Nginx container, then this could be this throwing 404. Although I would expect to see the 404 come out of it, right? I'd expect the logs in here to show 404. The tunnel doesn't show anything. And I don't think there's any more verbose logging necessarily. Oh, you know what I can do? I can Cloudflare tunnel logs. So what I can do is I can do this. I can do Cloudflare tunnel list. List. Get that ID. Cloudflare tunnel log level debug run. So another copy of the tunnel running is not going to cause me any problems. If I hit register. So do I have to register this endpoint in Cloudflare then? Is that the thing? Is the what's it called? The Cloudflare verifying. Show me that both your Spark and API gateway are properly defined in your tunnel configuration. Yeah, that's, by the way, that is their own. Where did I get that documentation then? I'm pretty sure that was their documentation. Oh, there you go. That looks more debugging, doesn't it? But either way, it's not hitting there because we didn't even see that move. So it's not hitting there. So I'm wondering if there's a configuration in um, is there a configuration inside of Cloudflare that means I can configure that, but I don't see it. And I'm not showing this because it's likely to leak something, so my apologies. If you don't know exactly what you're looking at, then clicking around randomly on things is what's producing that page where you click register. This is producing, the client site is producing it. So this config map, that's that one. The tunnel's up and running. The tunnel is diverting, sending that traffic. Let me. It doesn't, but it doesn't. There's no. It's not logging the traffic coming through there. That's just a third copy of the tunnel running. But yeah, this should now, by the way, pop up. Or not. No, that doesn't work either. Awesome. .404 is against the right address if you check the network type. Yeah. Liquid Sky software API register. Is that going to make that difference? No, the host name is what matters. It's not. This doesn't matter. This is internal. Now that's the default. What happens if we do that? Lay down. Okay, so that Let's see now. If I do, so the gateway is up, so I should see if that's actually doing that configuration. No, 404 still. Um, lay down. Lay down, guys. Both need the API. What is it? I mean, so the documentation that Claude popped, well, the documentation, the thing that Claude popped up was that, which makes sense. Wildcard match on everything API slash, right? So that would figure. This deletes and redeploys the tunnel every time. So yeah, access software forwards to the service address or the service address slash API. I don't know how the ingress is working there. I would assume it just does slash API. If that's the case, then that will fail with the 404 from the gateway, but the gateway isn't. I would assume it will forward everything. Yeah, it should forward everything after that should get sent there, is my understanding. But I see the point. So the challenge here is this is not what is this? This is not an ingress in the same way as defining ingress that I can see. This is not ingress. Test ingress rules. Oh, hold on. There we go. So Cloudflare tunnel ingress rule HTTPS liquid sky.software. Endpoints can be tested within the pods though. I want to see that Cloudflare is accepting the rule. That's all I care about right now. I don't care if it actually hits the I want to see the logging. So I want to know from an education perspective, I want to know that I can validate that this request is hitting the tunnel. So learning how this is working is what's important right now. So the challenge is, can I provide a different update, have a Cloudflare instance running with the original version of configuration? Okay, so hostname service. Hold on. That shouldn't need to be there because it should offload. Origin request, connect timeout service. So that's standard practice. Auto update. The localhost 8000 service inherits all root level configuration. In other words, it will use a connect timeout localhost 8002 service. So I'm looking at this documentation. Uh, we can thank Claude for that one because I couldn't find any docs specifically saying how to do that. And yeah. Rules can match the request path to a regular expression. Origins nodes, yeah. So by that definition, I can do this origin request. I can pop up there. That can go there. That can come out of there. That's fine. Well, I've tried it both ways. It doesn't really, it doesn't really matter. The Claude things showed /star in the first version. Yeah. I'll try it, but I'm not sure. It would make sense. It would make sense. What I was about to see is if I could take this configuration file and in this ingress rule test, if I could actually update the config and see what happens. For let's do this. Let's do Loki. Go lie down, please. By config.yaml. Loki, down. Lay down. Go lay down. You're not coming sitting at me, especially with not a dirty paws, you're not. So now Well, that means changing the client and rebuilding. So I'm not going to do that right this second. Well, that's again, that's totally when it matches, it matches. And the key here is not necessarily changing up how we do it to fit the need. Is to try and figure out how to understand the logging. That's what I want to care about right this second. I want to care about how do I identify the request, because later on I might get hit by something here, and if I don't know then I'm less equipped. And the point of this entire exercise of going through 17 days so far of trying to get this thing up and running is to understand how to do this and keep practicing it. So Loki, go lay down. You're not coming sitting on my lap. No. I know, bud. I know. You're a good boy. You're a good boy. Let's see if I can get this now. So Cloudflare, tunnel, ingress, validate. Is an invalid address. Please make sure it has a scheme and a host name. Well, that's interesting. Okay, so that does want that, right? Those services are listening on 8080, by the way. Okay, so the valid rules. So let's see. Match rule 2. Match rule 0. So if it hits, oh no, Liquid Sky software hit 404 then. We want that to hit rule 1, not 2. So let's do let's switch them around again as they were. Match rule 0. See, yeah, there you go. That's not good. Match rule 2. So these rules are wrong no matter what. Cloudflare. Let's give. Bigger. So hold on. Does that mean, hold on. Let's do this. So I don't think that is valid. Apparently it is. That gets rule 2 though now. That gets 404. And that matches the first one. API is going to be handled by K8S, not Cloud for that, I believe. Why? This is the exact conversation we had yesterday, which is what the path I was going down yesterday. So why do you think that now? Cloudflare is tunneling into the K8S service, right? Right. So one way of doing this is to always aim at the gateway and even have the gateway resolve the client, right? That would be a way of doing this. But API, the idea of the API is to send it towards the gateway. This is what we were doing yesterday because I was configuring the ingress for this. So going on that, right? If we basically say this goes there, that comes out, right? And then, so now if that was to happen, that would fail. Now the gateway rule here would have to be routes. We did client route, clients, and that was just slash. That has to go way down the list. That cannot be up there. That has to come right at the end because it has to pass all the others before it gets to that one, right? Right, and then clients cluster is going to be Liquid Sky client service. Oh, and we've also got the problem of this being completely wrong, by the way. Because this has to be, oh god, tenant management. That has to be routed differently. So this is still going to fail. But let's test that now. Pulumi up. That's why. So that would mean the Cloudflare tunnel would divert to the gateway. The gateway would then do all routing, which is okay. That's fine. Your ingress controller will manage routing, but I don't have. Okay, so I don't. That's what that file is then. That ingress is in that file. So that ingress is not routing it. Like where is where I'm not configuring an ingress controller. So where's the ingress controller? That gateway. That's typing out now. Did that actually come up? I did. Not working now though. I was just timing out. Liquid Sky client service. That's the right thing though. We'll worry about that one afterwards. That would fail immediately anyway. But this isn't working now. Yeah, back gateway. Why? That doesn't make any sense. No, bud. Go lay down. I'll be right back. I'm back. So what I was trying to configure yesterday was the ingress into the system, thinking that the tunnel was actually giving access to the Kubernetes host, and then ingress would take over. But I needed to offload the certificate. What we got into was, oh, okay, the tunnel does all that for you. So this is meant to be able to route this, but it's not doing the routing. And this is ingress, but it's not the same ingress. It's not, I think it's configuring an ingress rule itself. So, but they don't offer that much configuration text in here, which is making this even harder. And now this is completely busted, right? So let me go and put that. Nope. Well, let me go get this. That creates a namespace. Let me get this in place for afterwards. ls tenant management service .that .svc .cluster.local. That's still going to need to be there because that's the address it's going to send it to. Clients cluster star catch all. Actually, that doesn't need to be anything, does it? Pulumi up. Why? So the reason why the dogs wouldn't settle was because they decided that they required a biscuit because they went outside and did something. So they were basically asking me for the biscuits before they settled down. Smart dogs. My argument was on the only one certainty, but I believe you'd still be able to achieve the Cloudflare into the cluster. But it's not offloading ingress though. Now it's in the cluster though. I'm inside the walls, am I not? That's what this is doing. This is configuring ingress into this service from outside. So I'm already inside the walls now. No, it's not working at all. No, because I just put the freaking gateway address in there, and that's the problem. Did I just copy the gateway into that? No. No, that's not working. Okay, that's not working. That's fine. Let's test this now. But the Kubernetes ingress isn't going to take over at that point because I'm not controlling the ingress. That's setting the ingress. That's setting me to a service. I don't get. Yeah, yeah. Ingress is so if you set up the cluster, you set up an ingress to say, oh, on port 80, I'm going to access this. Then it tries to divert the traffic. But the problem is I'm not coming in to, I'm already in because of the tunnel. I'm not hitting the public IP of the machine. I'm looking at the path for API start as you had the original rule. Ah. But I didn't commit this either. Warning, LS tunnel deployment, containers. I like this one. So what I have learned is that if I start messing around with this, basically what happens is the cluster the Kubernetes thing gets into a right mess. Oh, there we go. That's because that was an idiotic mistake because I copied that in. It's definitely validating it then. The docs on configuration, remotely managed tunnel. I'm not remotely managing it, so I'm not running it in. Gateway. Uh, LS tunnel. LS tunnel down. That's fine. You finished? Yeah, you're finished. Okay, so now we're going to do this. We're going to quickly reboot the machine, because what I've learned is that this gets really temperamental when you keep bringing it up and down and up and down, up and down. Okay, so the tunnel is down. I'm looking at Cloudflare Zero Trust. I can look at the actual tunnel, and I can look at the configuration. What I'm seeing there is if it gives me any insights into that configuration once the tunnel's up. Okay, so that should be coming back up. Yeah. SSH. So, it's not. This isn't easy, but it is necessary to go through this and to understand how this works, understand how to find out how to solve problems, as painful as this is, and as headache inducing as it actually is. We'll have some further insights on the other side, right? And I'll be honest, it's kind of satisfying to watch that happening. Now let's see if it remembered the. I bet it didn't. I bet I have to add the Kafka configuration into the tenant management again, but that's not. Yeah, there you go. Oh no, LS tunnel. Awesome, just what I need. The tunnel being down. Oh, healthy. You declare the same host name twice. Yes, because it's got to match it's a match on the host name, isn't it? So you think, okay, I get you. Give me a second. It's now telling me that the tunnel's not working. So everything else came back up fine. Oh no, this is all broken now. Awesome. Okay, let's find out. Workloads, pods. Okay, tenant management is an error. That's probably that's probably that. Okay, the tunnel is up and running. That's fine. Okay, so that's fine. So there's a new version of the tunnel, which is interesting. Update. Okay, so tell me what the version is. Okay, I'll see your point though. Hold on. So what you're saying is, so how do we do that? Is path under there then? And do we have service HTTP. Yeah. How do I nest that? Because what determines one service from another? They're not just joined by that. Is it that? Is that what you're suggesting? I get that. Yeah, I see that. Hold on, before I do that, let's see that I get. Okay, I do get the client back. Now let's do that. But how's it going to know otherwise? It was saying that the pairings. You say YAML magic, but I don't believe YAML magic. That's fine. That's regular. Okay, tunnel deployment. One. Okay, that's crashing now. Okay. So you think it's that? Mapping key path already defined at line 11. Unmarshal errors. Mapping service already defined. Yeah, you can only have one per host name. Which is again why I think it actually might be that is possible. With the double host name. What do you think? Just repeating the host name again without a hyphen. Trying to figure out how to use the tunnel to navigate, because obviously the client comes up with this. Hello, by the way. Yeah. But then when I want to go to the API is actually on the gateway, and the gateway then routes to the individual services for that. So how do I how do I set the tunnel up to route that way? It's not. Yesterday I started down the path of setting up ingress, and Mojo pointed out that the tunnel actually gives me, I don't have to set up certificates and stuff. But yeah, So, yes. Why? That suggests you missing. I'm missing something. The docs around configuration are light. Okay, so that times out. So that doesn't even get to the gateway. Or the gateway doesn't serve it, whatever. This is that actually means that the gateway is not even serving that. Actually, let's validate that before I get that. It does sound pretty standard, doesn't it? We're unable to reach the origin service. Last API gateway YARP service. Interesting. Deployment pods. Deployments. API gateway deployment. Namespace. Workloads, pods. Network services. That's that. 80 to 8080. The service is 8080. No, that doesn't make sense. Endpoints. Why is that called? That's wrong. Something's wrong there. I've called too many things service, apparently. Namespace, API gateway deployment. Gateway labels, that's fine. App name, API gateway YARP. Yep. If else, if else. Um, if else API hits the first rule and doesn't need to proceed, assume the gateway is recommended. So the Cloudflare docs, by the way, for the configuration that tell us how to do this are that's all I've got to work off of, and it doesn't give you the same host name with different paths. So the thing is that the API, anything to API should go to the gateway, right? Everything beyond and GraphQL, and everything API and GraphQL. So we'll worry about GraphQL later. Why does that look wrong? So the tunnel starts up and it uses this, and it's saying it can't find this service. API gateway YARP service. Actually, that might be right. No, that's correct. That's the service. And that's the gateway, LS API gateway YARP. Config looks like it is based on order, so you have the path slash API slash. Right. We did. Like I don't mind not routing client through the gateway. That's not something I really am panicked about. Liquid Sky client service. That's client ng. No, I'm an idiot. But never mind. I've had a brutal headache for about 2 weeks now. This is Upsmith of Death. Thank you very much for the follow. Welcome in. If you have any questions, thoughts, opinions, you're more than welcome to share. Okay. Not helping, that's for certain. Okay. Okay, we have the client up. Okay. Test customer test at test.com. Oh, let me fix the. So the funny thing is, I set the configuration, I set the stateful service for the for console yesterday, and every time it restarts, it loses its configuration. So I don't know what I'm changing. I need to change that. It might. I've never Pulumi, so interested to see. So welcome in. I'm using Pulumi to build out an application or to deploy an application that I've been building for the past year on Kubernetes. Reason I'm deploying it to Kubernetes is multifaceted. A, this would cost a fortune in the cloud, so there's no way I'm playing with that right now. And B, I want to be able to use the application to dog food the application, and also help and have other people access to the system so that they can kind of, if they want to give feedback, they can do. So what I'm trying to configure out the second is this this communication here, client API, client to gateway. Oh, well, client, keep clicking it and it just keeps popping up. Client through to the actual APIs in the back end. So it's not a simple system to have deployed. So so what we've got working so far, this is the Pulumi configuration for everything. So I have a infrastructure, I have console, SQL Server. Yes, I'm virtualizing SQL Server right now. That's fine. Kafka, RabbitMQ, and API Gateway, and then the tunnel. This tunnel is a Cloudflare tunnel, so that I can put a public URL out there and not actually leak my details too easily. Then I have the an Angular client, and then the services, and we've got one service running, which I'm about to fix with this right now. So kubectl port forward service console service 8599 to 8500. N is ls console. Okay. So that will allow me to go over here and do 8599, bring up configuration. What? Oh. Oh. You got to do it from the machine you want to go from. Port forward. Service console service 8599 to 8500 and ls console. That works a little better. So if you have any questions, thoughts, opinions on what I'm doing, you're more than welcome to share. I am trying to stumble my way through Pulumi with the kind help of chat. I'm trying to share the journey as much as I am struggling. I realize that everyone is going to struggle at some point, and you know, I'm an application developer primarily, not a DevOps person. So this is a new world. Okay, so with that done, what I should have is a pod that's going to come back up. So let's delete that so it rebuilds. That should have access to that. Nice, Kubernetes makes sense. Then I'm just not confident using it. I'll ever played around with it. Not going to. And this application is built purely to grow, to learn from. The intention is that this application hopefully would turn into something, but it's not a surefire thing. So, and it's using a lot of technologies right this second. Okay, so that deployed. So tenant management is up and running. We're not going to need tenant management, but it's nice to know it's there. We go back over here and refresh. This should be working still. So test customer test at test.com. No. No. Liquid Sky Software. 4810 Main Street Boulevard. Oh. No. No, that did not work. That didn't fail either. It didn't not work. Pods, gateway. It didn't get to the gateway. Unable to reach the origin service. LS API gateway. So that configuration worked, Mr. Anhorn. Thank you. So had we just flipped these, we'd probably just flip these in the wrong attempt. Because he service config for the gateway. Port 80, target port 8080. The service is running on 8080. Yeah. Config map. That pulls that. This is running on 8080. App settings is mapped. Not see anything particularly wrong. Oh yeah, 80. That is on 80. That's fine. Let's see if I gateway YARP service is the names. The namespace is LS API gateway YARP. Once I've got my head around all these pieces, I promise I will go through and do some name cleanup because it is just not. See how this gets out of control. To me, this is basically the closest I want to come to the older style of development, right? I want to get something achieved and I'm going to throw stuff at the wall, but the goal is very much to understand it, not just to make it work and move on, right? So that's why we're doing it, and then we can practice it and we can keep doing it and refining it. So I really do mean it when I say I'm going to come through and try and organize these names. And you know, the idiomatic way of doing this, maybe there is a way, maybe there's not, but maybe it's just coming up with this style and then laying it out. I don't see how this is failing. So it's saying that it cannot reach it, right? Unable to reach the origin service. LSAPI Gateway YARP service in the LSAPI Gateway YARP namespace, svc cluster.local. Let's see. Can I connect? I don't think I can connect. No. Not unsurprisingly, it doesn't give me the ability to hold on. Where is it? Question, not to change its current method. In the setup with Cloudflare into Kubernetes running into an API gateway and Spark, is this the recommended config, or would you configure Cloudflare into Kubernetes and have Kubernetes manage the routing to the services? But I still don't see how I would do that. Because again, Cloudflare puts me inside the wall. There's no ingress rule to play with. Ingress is setting up for DNS hitting the debugging. Hey, come on. I'm not trying to change anything, especially if this works. I saw some documentation. One of those would be easy to communicate from a phone. Where is it? K8S. So the other day, someone pointed me in the direction of debug pods, debug services. Here we go. All right. So someone pointed me in the direction of this, and I apologize if I forget who it was. I've not done this, but probably adds the complexity having to figure out the SSL. Most ingress configurations I've worked with do not like being routed through unless they are also managing the SSL. So yesterday, what I did is I started going down the path I've done before, which is set up the SSL cert on the machine and plan to do the ingress, right? But then Mojo pointed out that I'm using the tunnel, and we kind of went back and forth a little bit. But yeah, I understand. The tunnel is actually giving me that ingress. So I don't, yeah, yeah, yes, that's kind of the way I'm seeing it. Um, okay, what I was going to do then is I was going to do this. No, I shared the link. Shared the link. The reason I'm not bringing it over is it is a bright white screen. Told you what's going to happen is it's going to work, and then I'm going to end up with okay. So that's BusyBots restart never it, and then N is ls. What I want to do is I want to put this in the tunnel namespace. Right. So what that should have done is it created a pod of BusyBots in the ls tunnel namespace. So now I'm going to try and ping that address that says it's not working, or rather not ping. I'm going to try and ns lookup. So it says that it's not working. Okay, so ns lookup. Did I miss the bloody ls off the beginning of that? No. Now I'm doubting myself. No, I did not. Um, it would, and that is a problem. The ingress also wants the SSL. Yeah, my personal setup's route to the IP of the server, and I set up an ingress with a cert manager. Cloudflare really hates it, but this tunnel makes it very easy to hide my IP without and that's what I'm trying to do because I want people to be able to access this application. I will shut it down, but I don't want to have to worry too much about uh, problems there. So this is the address that's in. Why will that not copy properly? Oh, come on. Spots. Okay. Let's. So I'm going to copy that. And then there should be ns lookup. Right. 10.105 1 dot. What do I go there? LS API Gateway YARP service 10.105 1.125. Oh yeah, I was, I was on that, wasn't I? Yep. So it can see it from within the namespace anyway. Can you curl it? Curl HTTP LS API Gateway YARP service LS API YARP svc.cluster.local. Why is curl not found in BusyBots? Isn't the point of BusyBots to do that? I thought BusyBots was built for this. You open the service setting. In here. Why is that endpoint name though? That shouldn't be that. Right? Yeah, why is the endpoint named the same as the service? That's the confusing part. Deployment. Oh. It was looping around itself, which is why it was getting stuck earlier on when it was getting there. The weird thing is though that it was not so earlier on it just got stuck. This time it resolved it so it couldn't resolve it. So I don't think this is 100% the answer, but I think it can't hurt. Okay, so that should have got rid of the busy bots as well because that's brought the namespace down. No, let's delete the busy bots. You are not helping me right this second. Okay. Oh, when did you get past the stage of destroy then up? When I hit all these and I realized I had to redo the configuration because for some reason I can't get console to remember its settings, even though I've set up as a stateful server set and got the configuration. SQL Server does okay, although once in every 5 or 6 reboots, it just drops the SQL Server data. So we'll have to figure that one out at some point. That came out with a 502 eventually. Nice. This is still failing. Is it failing for the right reasons though? Unable to reach origin service. Oh. Yeah, that's fine. It's got the right IP. So let's go back to network services. Now that shouldn't have changed anything about the... No, why has that still got the same wrong endpoint name? That's basically, it's trying to resolve this first, isn't it? Yeah, it's got the wrong name. This is the endpoint. But, oh, there's no... Yeah, addresses. There's the pod. Oh, okay, that's fine. There's the pod. 8080. But the service should push 80 to 8080, right? Oh, why is that on 8080 though? Endpoints 8080. What have I configured? Weird. Hold on. Map. LS. API gateway. Here we go. Deployment to replica set to pod. Network policy service endpoints. Well, there's the service and the endpoint has the same. Why has the endpoint got 8080? And it's called service. Hold on. Let me see that somewhere else. Tenant management. Pod to service to endpoint. Okay, so that's the common style. Okay, that's fine. Not that that's working. So we don't know that's working either. I could have configured something else wrong here. So console, persistent volume, stateful set, pod, service, endpoints. That's a stateful set though. That's deployment. I know this is working, but I happen to expose the same port there. So I have a service. Well, I know console's working internally, right? Because yeah, so console service endpoints, console service, and that's the addresses, and then I click in there. That's the actual endpoints, the addresses themselves. So that's common. That's correct, and that is working because it's pulling the configuration from Kafka. So that I know that piece is working. That fails if it's not available. So ls API gateway yarp dot ls API gateway yarp. It's got to be that. It's got to be this. Now that's correct because container port, it's not host port because it is on 8080 internally as well. And this should expose 80 and have target port, right? It's not node port because that's not. Protocol doesn't matter, it's defaulting. That's okay. Gateway yarp. That's just going to give the pods a name. Do not see what I am doing wrong. Ah. Although it let one through and then. Oh, come on. Hold on. That posted the V. Does that mean that's actually a person? Selected gateway labels and service should point to the deployment. I don't think that's needed network labels either. Yeah, gateway labels, selector. I'm trying to get my head around labels still. Yes, my labels are confusing. I'm still trying to get my head around how to use the labels because to me they're like labels and they're actually quite fundamental. I don't think I need the network, but we'll figure that out. I don't think that hurts anything right this second. He says. Actually, no. Let me remove that. I don't think I need the network. I think I've made things more confusing there, not less. Because a network also has rules as well, doesn't it? What can access. So by putting a network in place, do I actually no? Because my my SQL stuff is accessible. Yeah. What's the worst happens? Okay, let's see. Yeah, I don't think I do. Okay, let's see. That's from before. Oh, that worked. Is that errored? No, never mind. Oh no, it did. It worked. I bet it got here. Unable to resolve service type. It got here. It got to the API. So the gateway, yeah, it was the network. So the network was restricting the traffic. So I would have had to put permissions around the network to allow, which does make sense. I don't want everything touching the gateway. So if I do want to kind of lock it down a little bit, I could control things a little bit more. But I could have put permission in to allow requests coming from the tunnel through the gateway, and that way nothing else could go through the gateway. But that's overkill for what I'm doing. So we hit tenant management straight in the face. It failed. Or did that? Please tell me that didn't cause a restart. No. Let's have a look. Why isn't that? Why is that completely useless? Search for tenant. It actually executed the queries. Oh, hold on. That actually bloody no. No, 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 no. Kubectl port get service ls storage kubectl port forward. What I put this on 1499? 1439. Service ls equals service 1439 to 1433 and is ls storage. Oh, why do I keep doing that? It's on the host machine. You can't just do port forward from whatever machine you want and hope that it's going to work. There you go. Okay, so what that should have done. Oh, inserted. That suggests that's inserted something. Oh, do you remember that part where I set it up so that it had a transaction? That's interesting. It timed out on the query. Yeah. Yeah, that time that I set it up so that there was an actual transaction around the query. So if it failed, it would roll back and remove all the data it just created. Yeah. This one, that's going to be the same problem. I've created a network for RabbitMQ. I'm almost certain. Actually, we can fix that. While I'm thinking about it, and I can make success. I can succeed at something. Yeah, same problem. Do not create network unless you need a network. Understand why you need a network first. So the network is in Kafka, which is going to be interesting as well because I'm going to have to set up rules. So Kafka is networked so that Zookeeper and the broker work together, right? So that's going to be a challenge. Pulumi. Oh, so I do apologize. One line, thank you so much for doing the shout outs and stuff. I really, truly do appreciate them. I do apologize for not adding on to them every time. Um, this process of going through this is this is why I didn't stream last time. Because I was focused, but I didn't want to fail on stream. And this does feel like failure every single day. No, I appreciate it, but it is good to try and add my additional backing to them, right? Well, why is that going to break now? RabbitMQ deployment. Why are you breaking now? Deployments. RabbitMQ. I delete the other one. See what happens. There you go. My suspicion is that tenant management now actually might be able to communicate with RabbitMQ as well. We'll see. It'll try again eventually. But I think it's going to hit the same time when it tries to push to Kafka. I think it's going to hit the same problem, which actually means that might be where it failed. Although I thought I saw a configuration error before. So anyway, let's get back to that. Connection failed. Connection failed. So post register, we execute the command. Insert into addresses, insert into notification outbox. So we get the event. Interesting. That's interesting. That became an explicit transaction because that means the save change is fired. And yeah, okay. Insert into tenants, insert into tenant addresses, insert into notification outbox, insert into notification outbox. But that didn't. Where's the failure there though? Oh, it went to do this and then failed on this. Unable to resolve service for type. Tenant management application registering new user commands invitation code delegate. So tenant management. Please tell me I didn't put something behind dev. Uh, you know that I'll get around to that at some point. If debug. This is so that if I do an invitation code, it gets you the word code every time, and it's wrapped in debug so that it can't accidentally just get into production because you don't want it to be, hey, anyone can register and just put in a default code. And I shouldn't have slapped my head then as hard as I did because that hurt. Okay, so what do I do here? Leave. No, it's not the answer. Have fun though. Hope the MDF dried out enough. The router doesn't tear them up. So what it means is it's actually getting far enough. It's actually inserting all the data, or it thinks it's inserting all the data. Yeah, it actually is. It's in a transaction, right? It's getting to this point, trying to actually build the invitation code to send the invitation, and then failing. So this is great news, by the way. This is the first signs of life. Mr. Anhorn, thank you very much for being here today. I'm not sure I would have got there. Um, bro, take care. So what have we learned today? Because I'm gonna have to wrap up, unfortunately. So don't put networks in without control. The configuration for we were on the right path. Like I think we'd have got here eventually, right? But we were on the right path. This is the best way to do this right now because the Cloudflare tunnel is providing access from that URL that then routes to the correct API endpoints, right? So it's offloading. So later on, there'll be something similar. Actually, I'll probably need to do a regex here, but this should be all GraphQL basically. We'll go to the gateway. So that's fine. That we got that tunnel working. We added networks in where we didn't need networks. We are going to hit an issue with Kafka straight after this because we're going to end up with the position where Kafka needs a network because Kafka has the zookeeper and the broker in there. But what we're going to have to do is create this network and then configure the network to basically, yeah, There we go. That's why we're not putting the applications in the Kafka network. We're gonna have to figure out how to set up ingress from pods. So we're going to have to set up pod selectors. So this is what was basically preventing access to those things where we added networks where we didn't need them with RabbitMQ, etc. Now it's not bad because if we do this, what we can set up is actual rules as to which pieces can talk to which pieces, which actually would mean that even if you configured something to um, um, uh, yeah, if you actually configured something to talk, then it would lost my train of thought there. Anyway, so we could use networks, but that was what was limiting that. And now we have to figure out how to divert. Let me just see. Else builder.services to add transient. Please tell me that's service collection. Release. Come on. I'm hoping that is service provider. Okay. Okay, so what we'll do here is this will become provider goes to there goes to var code yeah, return something like that. Right. So we'll create a service that gives an invitation code, and we'll do that so that when we get into a production environment, we actually use the right service. But while we're in dev, it will always be code, which means we can always validate a user in debug mode. So I have to build and test that. So that will be, yeah, that will be the challenge for tomorrow. Actually, no, it's Thanksgiving. I don't think I will be able to stream tomorrow. 719. It might be. I'd like to continue progress, right? So I'd like to make this progress at this point because once we get the API gateway talking to the service and the service that completing and then that registration, basically what we're looking for is registration complete here. When that works, that means that the database has received data, Kafka has received a message to do something, a message has been sent to the service bus to say, let me just check that, by the way. Is that now working? Let me validate that. I love that idea that you can just delete it and start it again and get it back into shape again. What I want to validate is this when it starts up now. Yeah, it was the network and RabbitMQ as well. So it's communicating with RabbitMQ, it's communicating with console. It's going to have an issue with Kafka, but we'll get there. So the goal is very much to get this communicating. Once it's published the command, so it's send an email. Once it's published to Kafka, and we see Kafka topics created and published to, and we see the data in the database. That's the majority of the application stack validated. Adding the other components is then just a case of going through those routines of setting up the pieces. I don't see anything tricky about what else is out there. There are some services the first receiver service we get up to is going to be interesting, because that's just a service that's constantly running. But I don't see anything particularly tricky about that. It just doesn't have network. It doesn't have ingress at all. It just reads and writes to topics and stuff. So I don't see anything particularly harsh about them. Yeah, I think we can. They are actually jobs, I suppose. They might actually be something we can define as jobs that run, potentially. And there we go. So I think we're good. Okay, I have to run. I'm just gonna end because I need to shut down and get off. Thank you for joining me. If you're hanging around still, don't forget, online this Wednesday. Thank you very much. Thank you for the support and for the motivation and for not giving up on me with doing this. So I will this is a good successful end to the stream. So thank you. Take care all. Bye.